Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Chapter 6 today of I Am That. Chapter 6, Meditation. So, of course, another favorite. These are all my favorite chapters because I love this book so much. I think it's so helpful and so wonderful. I hope you feel the same way. Let's get started, shall we? So, sharing the screen here. Chapter 6, Meditation. All right. So again, such a good chapter. I think I'll read probably the entire chapter. It's pretty short. And I'm already feeling so much peace and happiness and love this morning, which is always a nice thing to wake up to. So, questioner, the person asks, all teachers advise to meditate. What is the purpose of meditation? And again, I think this is such a great question because we take things for granted. We just assume, okay, I saw the Buddha meditating, so let's meditate. But what is the reason? What is the purpose of it? It's very good to ask these questions. Why am I doing anything? Because time goes quickly, right? In the relative world. And so we should be aware and conscious and not robots. We should be aware of what it is that we're doing and why, so that we are free and empowered by that knowing. Okay. Maharaj says, we know the outer world of sensations and actions, but of our inner world of thoughts and feelings, we know very little. The primary purpose of meditation is to become conscious of and familiar with our inner life. The ultimate purpose is to reach the source of life and consciousness. Incidentally, practice of meditation affects deeply our character. We are slaves to what we do not know. Of what we know, we are masters. Whatever vice or weakness in ourselves we discover and understand its causes and its workings, we overcome it by the very knowing. The unconscious dissolves when brought into the conscious. The dissolution of the unconscious releases energy. The mind feels adequate and becomes quiet. Very nice. What is the use of a quiet mind? When the mind is quiet, we come to know ourselves as the pure witness. We withdraw from the experience and its experiencer and stand apart in pure awareness, which is between and beyond the two. The personality, based on self-identification, on imagining oneself to be something, I am this, I am that, continues, but only as a part of the objective world. Its identification with the witness snaps. Very important what he just said there. I'm going to skip a few parts here. It is not so much the matter of levels as of gunas, qualities. So meditation is a sattvic activity and aims at complete elimination of tamas, inertia, and rajas, motivity. Pure sattva, harmony, is perfect freedom from sloth and restlessness. How to strengthen and purify the sattva? Well, the sattva is pure and strong always. It is like the sun. It may seem obscured by clouds and dust, but only from the point of view of the perceiver. Deal with the causes of obscuration, not with the sun. What is the use of sattva? What is the use of truth, goodness, harmony, beauty? They are their own goal. They manifest spontaneously and effortlessly when things are left to themselves, are not interfered with, not shunned or wanted or conceptualized, but just experienced in full awareness. Such awareness itself is sattva. It does not make use of things and people, it fulfills them. I think I'll stop there. Very nice chapter. If you don't mind, I might even repeat a few of the things here that Maharaj says. They're so important. So what is the purpose of meditation? What is the purpose? Why do we meditate? We know the outer world. We look around, we see the outer world, sensations and actions, all the information that the five senses are taking in. But of our inner world, of our thoughts and our feelings, we know very little. And because we know very little of our thoughts and our feelings, they happen to us in a sense. I don't want to say we're slaves because of them, but as he mentions coming up here, is that anything you're not conscious of, you can't really be, as he says, a master of. So if we want to use these words, you're either a slave or a master. Of course, we all want to be a master. So the primary purpose of meditation is to become conscious of and familiar with our inner life, to bring light and awareness to that which is in the shadows. The more you meditate, the more that that which is stored in the subconscious and unconscious, it is realized and released. As he mentions, there is energy just waiting to be tapped into. We could say that if once we become 100% aware of that which is, that is when the fullest potential, the fullest amount of energy is released. And there is now an ability to come in contact with that energy. Of course, it becomes present. It is. The ultimate purpose of meditation is to reach the source of life and consciousness, to find the origin, the source of that which is. Now, he says, incidentally, a byproduct of meditation, which just happens to arise, well, what happens is it affects deeply our character. Just by meditating, just by becoming more aware of everything that is happening here, it affects our character. Because once we begin to see how we think, how we speak, perhaps how we judge people or judge incidents, perhaps how we're not very mindful with our speech, maybe harmful even, hurtful rather with our speech, sloppy, right? So we naturally just become, as a byproduct, incidentally, we become, I wouldn't say there's a guarantee about this, but we become nicer people, more compassionate, more thoughtful, happier people, less suffering, just as a result of meditating, of bringing more light, more awareness, more love into our system. Meditation is not just about the mind, it's about the whole system, body, mind, spirit. It's about bringing awareness and light and love to the entire system of you, body, mind, spirit. Wherever there is darkness, let there be light. Wherever there is fear, let there be love. Wherever there is anger, allow forgiveness to cleanse that anger. I'm reminded again that usually we stumble upon this path. We start looking for something called enlightenment, either because we're very curious, we want to know the truth, or because we are suffering. And I know because I know of my own suffering, and I know of the suffering that other people share with me. Of course, if you look at this relative world in these days, there are many things that the mind can attach to and say, oh, this is a cause of suffering. This is a cause of suffering. This is a cause of suffering. So as we become more aware, more open to the light and the love, the suffering dissolves, the darkness dissolves, and the light increases. As he says later on here, everything is just allowed to be as it is, basically. The energy is released, and the awareness itself, everything is floating in this awareness, you see. You're simply allowing everything to be as it is. No need to change anything, nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to be. I remember one of the first books I read when I was 19 or 20, Healing the Shame That Binds You by John Bradshaw. Healing the Shame That Binds You by John Bradshaw. And one sentence from that book I remember 20 years later, he said, "You are not your issues. You are not your issues." Now, this is right when I was beginning a spiritual path, a path of self-inquiry, not in this sense, but in the sense of looking at myself, self-reflection, looking into suffering. Why was I suffering? And looking at, it's not always pretty to look at ourselves. But that reminder, you are not your issues, gave me great courage in order to look at what is. Because, yes, as he said, you are not your issues. Or as Nisargadatta says, you are nothing perceivable or conceivable, but that which makes all perception possible. So we don't want to try to escape what is here. We don't want to try to hide or run or rationalize, well, this isn't me, it doesn't matter what my personality does, etc., etc. It's not that. In fact, you become, I find, more responsible, perhaps more relaxed in some ways, but also more mindful and responsible about what is happening here. Because we can also start to see the effects of our thoughts and our feelings and our actions. We become more aware of those as well. Stephen Levine used to say, we become more loving by watching how unloving we are. Just by watching. And of course, it does have to do something with our heart. There has to be an intention in there. I'm actually feeling a pain in my heart. I think that's what Stephen was saying. When we see how unloving we are, there's a pain in our heart. If we are people who care about doing the right thing or being good, there's a pain when we're not compassionate, when we're not kind, when we're not happy even, there's a pain. So pain can be a great motivator. Seeing the pain that we bring into the world, it can encourage us and inspire us to stop bringing pain into this world to whatever degree we are able to do that. Some of you may be familiar with the Jain, I guess you could call it a religion, Jain religion or Jain sect of Hinduism. It's probably better to call it a sect. And they are very, very, very nonviolent. They're the ones that wear the masks. They don't want to inhale any bugs. They don't want to step on ants. Of course, they must be totally vegetarian and vegan, in fact. So that's an extreme of this principle of nonviolence. But just to show how far we can go with that, there's so much silence right now, it's palpable. Even though there's some music playing on my iPhone and I can hear the birds outside the window, still there is a silence that's so palpable. And I'm reminded again in this moment that we are surrounded by silence, surrounded by stillness. One of you mentioned in your comments on my last video that there's a lot of speaking happening or a lot of thoughts happening. That's okay. Everything is okay. In oneness, everything is okay. It's true. There are no problems in oneness. Now, this is the absolute perspective. But it's the perspective to be looked at right now. Nothing is better than anything else because everything is the perfect expression of oneness. This isn't about stopping the mind or controlling the mind or telling the mind to shut up or something like that. No. Let the mind float. Let the mind float. Maybe go the other way with it and ask it, let's see how loud you can get, mind. And as you do that, and as you see the volume of the mind increase, you will also at the same time see that which is not the mind. You will become aware of the awareness that is aware of this so-called noisy mind. And you'll say, wow, I'm not that noisy mind. Because here I am as the pure witness, as Nisargadatta says, watching this mind. And then you can just let it be what it is, this noisy mind. And actually, ironically, when you really let it be, you can't trick it. But if you really just let it be what it is, it will dissolve. Because you're no longer trying to fight with it, change it, control it. You're just letting it be what it is. It doesn't matter if the mind is loud because there is something that you are focused upon, which is your true nature as the silence itself, as the stillness itself. So again, even if you're standing in the middle of New York City and there's all of this noise surrounding you, there is still that silence. Silence is the context. Stillness is the context. And it's always present. You can always check in throughout your day. Yep, silence is still there. Stillness is still there. Am I still aware? Yes, awareness is still there. Am I existing? Yep, I'm still here. You just check in. Notice. I love this word notice. It just happens without any effort. And you rest. You rest as that awareness. You rest as the stillness and silence. And the body may be very active. Even speech may be very active. And yet you are clear. He says, Nisargadatta says, the identification with the consciousness or the person, it snaps in a good way. Sounds scary a little bit. When I first read it, I thought, ooh, snaps. Sounds like something broke. But it breaks in a good way because you really see that you are the awareness, not the consciousness. You are the awareness, you're not the person. You are the awareness, you're not the issues. And the more you identify that as that awareness, as Nisargadatta just said, meditation shows you your sattvic pure nature, your harmonious nature, the nature of equanimity, the nature that allows everything to be as it is. And naturally, without effort, incidentally, spontaneously, that peaceful nature, that light, that awareness, it just becomes what you actually are. It becomes the primary instead of the secondary. That which now perhaps seems like it's in the background comes to the foreground. And then everything else that comes and goes, just sort of, just like this music, I hear it, but it's in the background. It's not bothering me. Of course, it's lovely music, but it's just playing, and I can allow it to play. It doesn't disturb the peace that is present here. So why do you meditate? What do you hope to achieve by meditation? The ultimate purpose, Nisargadatta says, is to realize, to find the origin of life and consciousness. Who am I? What is reality? What is God? And your body, mind, spirit is the laboratory. You are the ultimate scientist. This is about you and what you can find, not what everybody else says, but what you are experiencing in this moment. Have a wonderful day. Ending with a few peaceful ohms. Om. 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 Allowing the energy and the body, mind, spirit, allowing it to just float and expand into greater and greater peace and love. Remember, truth and beauty and goodness, they are their own rewards. Why should you be kind? Why should you be loving? Of course, you don't have to, but why should you? Because it's so much more fulfilling and satisfying and pleasant. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is about you, and we could say your relationship with God or with truth. Sounds dualistic, but I think you know what I mean. Everybody is always going to have their own judgment, their own opinion. And at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, throughout the day, it's only you. It's just you and your relationship with this moment. So in every moment, flood the moment, this moment with love. Flood this moment with awareness. Flood this moment with mercy and compassion and forgiveness and joy. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Thank you.